Welcome to the Heavenly Treasury broadcast where we help believers achieve God's financial abundance for your life. I'm your host, Ron Turba, author of these very soon to be upcoming Heavenly Treasury series on biblical finance. So that's very interesting because right now my book is in the very final stages of volume 1 and it will be going out into the publication this month. So right now it's slated for June 25th. And I'm really, really excited about that. And I hope you are too, because you're going to get a lot of value out of that. All right. And what do I mean by that? There's a lot of volumes that are going to come out at some point in the future. Of course, the very most important one is the first one. Right. And if you've never published a book before, it's a lot different than you may think. And it's a good way, in a very good way. Because, look, if you just want to say, I published a book, you can go out on a weekend, put together 20 or 30 pages in a Word document, and all of a sudden you have a book. And you can go to a publisher and say, I want to publish this book. Or even better, if you really just want to say, I don't really care who publishes the book. I'm not really keen on creative content. I just want my words out there in whatever form they are. You can do that almost for free. It just takes a little bit of effort, a lot of thought for whatever you're doing, and all of that too, because it's really, really fun when it really comes down to it, because all the things that you may not think about are things that you're going to have to think about when it comes to your publication. And that's of course if you want it to make an impact. If you don't want to make it to impact, just write whatever the heck you want and don't check it, don't have anybody look at it, and then all of a sudden just throw it out there and to say, I published a book. All right. And just what the world needs, another book of somebody's thoughts, as if we don't have enough thoughts from everybody else already. Right? So there's a lot of different viewpoints when it comes to why somebody writes a book. Now, for me, I definitely want the book to have an impact on you and your life. I do. I don't want you to stay stagnant. I want you to continually increase, especially financially. Of course, that's really my where my focus has been and will be, unless the Lord, of course, directs me otherwise. So that's where I'm at, and I would really like for you to be able to join on that adventure as well, because that's what your life is going to be very shortly after you read the book, is an adventure. And my prayer throughout this entire book, especially the first one, is for you to catch a vision of what you want to accomplish with your life, whatever that is. All right, mine, again, I want to help a lot of people. That's definitely part of my vision. My vision, of course, is to help 1 million believers double their income with sorrowless riches. All right, sorrowless riches. All right. So what do I mean by that? I discuss quite a bit on this channel about how to increase, biblically speaking, how to increase and increase financially. Okay. Of course, you can always increase your physical strength, your speed, your intelligence, your wisdom, all of that. That's all very important and all well and good. For me, I'm focusing on the financial aspect. Because for most people, and I'm going to say this in every single time I get on until you're blue in the face and until I go meet Jesus, is that most people, when it comes to biblical finance, are going to focus on one of two aspects, and that's giving and stewardship. Of all the volumes that I have written, and every single one so far has been written, and right now there are 25 of them, 25 volumes that will come out at some point. Of those 25, 4 are on giving, 1 is on stewardship. There's 20 others that are just as valuable to biblical finance beyond giving and stewardship. And if that's all you're getting, you're going to stay stagnant. And I'm sorry to say that. You're going to stay stagnant. I don't care how much you give. If you're not working in the way you're supposed to do, if you're not working in the avenue that God wants you to do, and if you're in a place and a path where there's nobody has a ceiling on your income, well, guess what? You're going to stay stagnant. I don't care. All right. That's the way it is. And I've realized that very, 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 very eloquently and intensely over the past 12 months. That I can assure you, that if you're not in a path where the Lord can truly bless the work of your hands, because remember, if the Lord is going to bless the work of your hands, He wants you to get that blessing. He doesn't want everybody else to get the blessing. Okay. Now, if you choose to spread that blessing around, yes, absolutely. But God is the one who blesses the work of your hands. It's not your boss who blesses the work of your hands. It's not your brother. It's not your parent. It's not your kid. It's God. Okay? Even your spouse. It's God. Okay? And so when you get in that position of being able to have the work of your hands blessed, God wants to make sure that you get the reward from that blessing. And if you're in a job right now, somebody else is getting that blessing. Okay, you're getting a little bit of it, but most other people are. Now, this is where I'm going to differ from the few folks that do talk about biblical finance in a great way, and I adore them beyond belief, because there's some of the people who have opened my eyes per se. But what I'm going to say for you is that there are people right now who could really use a job, and that's where you probably should be. All right, until you're ready to take the next step and get into the path where there's no cup on your income, and there's no ceiling saying, you know what, you can only make this much, right? And why do I say that? If you don't know how to show up on time, if you don't know how to submit to leadership, if you don't know how to be coachable and take instruction from somebody else, if you don't know how to do any of those things, you're never going to succeed in the path that the Lord has for you. You're not. And so for some of you, that's going to be a very difficult thing to learn, especially if you're 20s and you grew up with a single mom or a single dad and didn't have them in your life, didn't have a two-parent household in your life, both guiding you to become the man or woman you're supposed to be. That's going to be a bumpy road. But the Lord's with you there, especially if you desire that increase. All right. And so as you begin to get refined, that's how you continue to push forward, which is why, again, the importance of moving forward. All right. This is not a place where you just want to stay stagnant. All right. And I'm thinking about, I just came on spontaneously today, but just thinking about all the biblical figures who went through serious hardships. And it's very easy for us to read 3 chapters in one book of the Bible and say, wow, this guy went from here down to there, then up to here. Wow, what a great story. What a great miraculous story. Well, guess what? Those 1 or 2 verses of some individual staying down here and then, 3 verses later going back up there, well, guess what? That's a long time for some people. For some of you, that could be a 6-month period. Now just think about that for a second. If you're reading the Bible and you see King David hiding in a cave because everybody's trying to kill him and he's all alone, and he has this promise from Samuel saying, you're going to be king of Israel. He's looking at a cave saying, where's my kingdom? Okay? But guess what? He kept moving forward. All right? And he kept moving forward, and he kept moving forward. And he kept seeking the Lord wholeheartedly in everything that he did. Now, some of you right now are sitting in a cave. You're on the path that the Lord has for you. But maybe there's been a setback. Maybe there's some refining that's taken place that can seem like a very disgusting process, because at times it is. I hate to admit it, but it is. And that's not something that really gets a lot of cheers in your church. But I'm here to help you move forward. I'm here to help you double your income from where you are. Because if you're going to double your income from where you are now, you have to become somebody who can receive that double portion. Okay? When Elisha first went to Elijah, all right, he was not ready to receive that double portion. He had to follow Elijah, and follow him and see everything that he did, the spiritual aspects that he did, all of that. When at the very end of Elijah's life, he said, I'm going here. Elisha said, I'm following you. I don't care where you're going. Elijah said, okay, I'm here. Now I have to go there because God called me to go over there. What did Elisha do? I'm following you. That can be a difficult thing, especially if you're 18 years old right now. Think about this. If you're 18 years old and you just left the house and you're saying, I'm going here, but mom and dad said, no, son, you're going over there. How many of you are there? How many of you? I guarantee you there's a lot more than you'd like to admit. Well, guess what? That's what the Lord expects. He doesn't expect you to be under your parental guidance for your entire life. Up until you're ready to go out on your own. Again, assuming you didn't come from a terrible background, mom's on drugs, dad's in jail, those type of backgrounds. Assuming you didn't, and you had 2 good parents in your life. Again, no parent is perfect, but at least they were there. All right, that's a very difficult decision for a lot of people, because every single child is going to have to make that decision, because almost no parent on planet Earth ever says, you know what, son, just do what you want, whatever feels comfortable for you. What has God put in your heart, go after it, so to speak. Most of the time, whatever that child is going after is going to be a disagreement from what the parents want. Okay, and that's a very difficult decision for most children. At some point, some of you had to make that decision at 15. Some of you at 25. Others of you waited till you're 35 to make that decision. But at some point, you got out of the umbrella from your parents and onto the road that the Lord has for you. Because I'm going to tell you this right now. The path that the Lord has for you is almost never going to be the same as the road that your parents have for you. At some point, they're going to deviate. Now, are they going to deviate when you're 8 years old? Probably not. But when you're 18 and 20, absolutely. Absolutely. They're going to deviate. They are. And so that's something you have to realize about the importance of moving forward, is that whatever path the Lord has for you, you have to continue moving forward. And that's what Volume 1 is going to be about. It is going to be the very first volume in the Heavenly Treasury series. Right now, again, slated for 25 volumes. First volume, every single one is going to be, on average, about 50 to 60 pages. You can read it in a weekend, something along those lines. It's not they're not going to be long, difficult reads, but they are going to be eye-opening reads. That's for sure. And that's something that I have noticed along the lines, is that a lot of these places, and again, a lot of the books that I read, they sound really good and they feel really good when you're reading them, but 3 days later, you think, what did I read? I forgot it all. Well, not going to be the case here. Not going to be the case. You're going to remember it, and it's going to hit your spirit, because something's going to trigger you to make a different decision after you read it than before you read it. That's my goal for you, because I'm gonna be. I think the editor who copy edited the book, I think he said it the best. He said this book feels. You know what? Actually, I'm gonna pull it up. Okay, and while I'm doing that, it's just part of the book writing process. If you really want it to be a professional book that represents God, the God of more than enough, the God who's living on streets paved with gold, it's got to be a good professional book, and it's got to make an impact. It's got to be something that's not cheap. Okay, if it hasn't been professionally edited, you're basically saying, I'm doing this on my own. And unless you're a professional editor who's done all of that on your own and done it for many years, you're going to need somebody else to do this. Okay, and again, that's one of the reasons why I went out of my way to do this. All right, is for that reason. So let me see here. The manuscripts. So the publishing company that I used was phenomenal. Really speaking. And so let me see. Let me see here. Yeah, this is the very first sentence from the editor of my book. His name is Tristan. I don't know what his last name is. I've never met him. I've never spoken to him. The way that my publishing service worked, I worked with Palmetto Publishing. It's no secret because the publisher's name is going to be on the book itself. So I used Palmetto Publishing, and I used them because a friend of mine recommended that publishing company, who had a very positive experience, and I did too. I really did have a very positive experience with it. The only hiccup that I ever had was when they were translating, so to speak, my Word document, my Microsoft Word document, which was all my work in it, into an actual book that's formatted like a book. We had a lot of trouble there, and because I was very, very keen on the vision that I specifically wanted, it took a minute to get it right, but I felt like it got right, and that's the most important thing. But putting all that aside, the editor of this book said, this is his word. It feels like a friend and mentor is speaking to the reader. This style is consistent throughout the book. And that's the goal that I had, was to have this feel like a friend and mentor. Why? Because if the book was just a friend, then friends are going to suggest things here and there. But friends sort of stay away from pain points in your life. They do. At some point, friends are going to need some tough love, but most friends aren't really there to give you tough love. They're just there to hold your hand and hug you going through what you're going through. That's a friend, right? A drill sergeant or a mentor is somebody who's always telling you, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. Anybody who's been in the armed services, I know the Army and the Marines definitely. I'm not really entirely sure about the Navy and the Air Force, Coast Guard, those other ones, but the Marines specifically, you go through boot camp. If you don't do what the drill sergeant tells you to do, you get beat until you do. You get punished. Right? Maybe they don't beat you anymore, but there's some physical pain that goes along with that. All right. So if that's the only style of the book, then you're not getting anything out of it. You're just gonna say, I get enough of that in my entire life. I get enough people telling me what to do, and then now some guy I've never met before is gonna tell me that God told me to do this, and I got to do it. No, not gonna work out very well. Okay, so that's why there's a mixture of friend and mentor, because the reality is this: whatever life you're in right now, if you're gonna make a change in that life, there's going to have to be some pain that goes along with that. Some pain that makes people make a decision. As terrible as that sounds, I've noticed, especially doing marketing, sales aspects and some of my business endeavors, that's something I've really learned over the years, is that when I first started out, I just want to be everybody's friend, right? And if they went along with us, fine. If they didn't go along with us, that's okay too, all right? And that's what I did. And guess what? Nobody followed me. Ever, because in order to make changes in somebody's life, and serious changes, there's going to have to be a pain point. How many of you went through a terrible accident in your life, and the decisions you made following that you would have never made had you not gone through the accident? Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that the Lord wanted you to go through an accident. I'm not even going to sit here and say the Lord planned the accident. But were the accident not to take place, you would not be in the position that you are today. And as difficult as that may be to hear, that's something that I've learned over the years, is that if there's something, I wouldn't say an accident, but some experience that was not painful for me, I would not be where I am today. And I don't know if that's God, because God doesn't really like people suffering. He doesn't, especially the people who follow him and chose to follow Jesus. People, they could make any decision in their life, but they chose to follow God's son. And if God's going to look at those people and say, I hate you, and here's a rod of punishment, he doesn't like doing that. He'll do it, but he doesn't like doing that whatsoever. Okay? So that's definitely something that I've learned over the years, is that if you're going to make changes in your life, there's usually a painful experience that goes along with that. Now, that painful experience doesn't necessarily mean somebody beating you with a stick, or you having a near-death experience, something along those lines. Not necessarily. But I am telling you that if there's somebody who's going to help you make a decision that's going to improve your life, there's going to have to be some pain a little bit in that conversation. So, for example, I talk to people all the time, especially because, if you've listened to this for any length of time, you know that that I'm not a fan of people having jobs for elongated periods of time. I'm not. I'm a big fan of self-employment. A huge fan of self-employment. All right, and business ownership. I am. Okay, I'm always going to be that way, because that's a path that the Lord can use to bless the work of your hands. Now, I do meet over my endeavors, that what my wife and I are doing together, and also me separately, I meet a lot of people who have been in jobs for a long period of time. And I am able to extract in just a few short minutes what their dreams and goals are about what they want to achieve with their life. And maybe that's something they've never told anybody else, not even their spouse before, but they tell me. And then I make the decision of confronting them about that and saying, at your current position and job, how long will it take you to fill in the blank? And these aren't really massive goals either. These are, I want to stay home with my kids. That's which, all things considered, when it comes to dreams and goals and visions, that's about this big. But in terms of importance for people who don't have it, it's this big. Okay? So, I mean, even something like that, and then I ask them, okay, at your current job, how long is it going to take you to be able to save enough money, invest it wisely, and then be able to come home and be with your kids? That's where the pain comes in. That's a very painful question because you're confronting somebody about their future, their life's future. They only have one shot at this life. If you don't confront them about it, who will? Think about that for a second. If you don't confront them about it, who will? So that's what I mean. I have done that for many, many years. Confronted people about their life and not in a beat you to death way, but sort of in a I'm a coach, I'm a mentor, I'm a friend. All of those mixed together so that you know I care about your situation. But I also care so much about your situation that I don't want you to stay the same. So when I do that and just present that to people, it's I can see it in their faces. And some of them I'm speaking to on the phone. I never met them in person. But I can feel it in their voice that this is not a comfortable conversation right now. But it's one I need to have. And I'm feeling a lot better after it than I did before it. That's what I really enjoy doing. And that's what the Heavenly Treasury series is going to do for you. That's what it is. And that's my prayer for you, is that you're going to get a touch from God when you're reading this book. That's my prayer. All right? I'm not in this. I've got other endeavors that are producing for us. I'm not doing this to grow financially. All right? And as I write in the book, believe it or not, in the first volume of the book, right? Volume 1, Fear of the Lord, I write that I don't receive any profits or any commissions or any royalties from any sale of any book. Any book in the Heavenly Treasury series that is sold and money ends up into my hands through a sale of that book, I don't make anything. I give it all away. It all goes to the poor. And I'll explain why in a future book. But that really helps me to get a much better impact than maybe some other author. All right, if you are writing a book for money, awesome. If that's your goal, because about 20% of authors are writing books because they want to get rich. All right, and I'm not going to go into the economics of writing books here. I'm certainly not. I will tell you that if your book ends up being something like the 50 Shades of Grey, where 9 figures worth of books are being sold and literally will be purchased even long after you're gone, that's something that's really special. It is. And again, I'm not writing this for the funds, for the money. If you're writing a book for one, again, more power to you. All right. But I did that for and I'm giving them all away for a number of reasons. Most importantly, to help those who can't help themselves. Beyond that, okay? But there is some, as I'll get to in the giving books, the books that I do have on giving, because I do go into that very, very in depth, is that when you do give, and when you do give very, very fervently with a purpose, then that giving does produce a reward for you. It does. Okay? And so I want you to understand that as well when it comes to giving. Now, there's a lot more to giving and reaping the benefit and reward and harvest out of that than just putting your money in somebody else's hand. And I get to that in the other books. Okay? But just kind of as a preview to that content, when you give to the poor, the Bible says very clearly that two things about those who give to the poor. Those who give to the poor lack nothing. Okay? All right? And he who gives to the poor lends to the Lord, and he repays you for your good deed. So those are two blessings that come from giving to the poor. And so I know I'm going to receive those. So the only downside, if there is, to not keeping money for yourself and donating it away when it comes to the benefits of doing it for the Lord, is that there's a delayed gratification, so to speak. There's a delayed reward. All right. So for example, if I were to receive $100 from some labor that I did, or I give $100 for some cause of some sort, and I just give it, and I give it cheerfully, right? I know, especially to the poor, when you give to somebody and they pay you back, you're getting $100 back. So I know that whether I go out and earn $100 or I give $100 and then $100 comes back to me, either way, I'm getting $100. Okay? So again, my labor is what's bringing in money from the book sales, okay? And then I can either keep that or I can give it to the poor, and I know God's law said that it will come back to me. So if I make $100 from selling a book, and then I give that money out, all right, to the poor, that $100 out, all right, And then I know at some point the Lord will return it back to me, which is $100 back in my hand. Okay? Hey, Kluwer, how are you? Good to see you. All right? And so that's really what we're talking about here. So, so that's one of the big reasons why I'm not going to keep any of the money that's going to come in from any of the books that I'm selling. It never will. All right? All first volume that's coming out this month, not going to happen. All right? Not keeping any of it. As soon as it comes in my pocket, my 10% tithe goes to my local church, and then the other 90% gets given to the poor. Okay? And so as we continue doing this, I know that there's a lot of other blessings that come along with that. I mean, just think about this for a second. He who gives to the poor lacks nothing. So if there's something missing in your life, giving to the poor can open a door for that. Okay? And so that's one of the big reasons why I'm doing that. Again, primary motive is to help those who can't help themselves. I mean, for now, I remember Laura's gift, my wife Laura's Christmas gift that she wanted this year. Believe it or not, this is not a joke. This is the lovely woman that I'm married to, and I mean that sincerely. Is about 2 or 3 days before Christmas, we were at church, and all of a sudden she says, "Oh, there's I wouldn't say it's a choir, but sort of like an orchestra that kind of goes around the country, helping to save souls and also helping to raise some funds for some kids back in, I think it's Africa. I forget which country in Africa." And she said, "I want to sponsor a kid." That was my Christmas gift to her. And every month we contribute and we send. Okay, that was her gift. And I know that it's not a ton right now. It's going to increase a lot more when the book sales come out. But I know as it continues to move forward, guess what? We're going to have a lot of kids that we're going to help. Okay, not just there, but also other places. All right, and the organization is called Watoto Community. All right, and so that's one of the big reasons why we're doing it. Okay, because she wanted to bless somebody else, and it's just a law of God that givers aren't going to lack, especially when you work the way you want to work. Now, if all you do is sit on your butt, eat bonbons, and just take your money and just start giving it out and saying, "Oh, all I got to do is give," it's going to come back to me. Not quite. You can try it out. I would not recommend it, because that would violate a lot of laws in the Bible about work and finance, okay? And about moving forward and everything, all right? And so there weren't a ton of challenges. Again, the book isn't out yet, all right? It's going to come out. Right now we're slated on June 25th, still working with my publisher. That's not set in stone at this moment. Once pre-sales go live from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, then we'll be able to understand that and know the exact date. But for now, it's likely going to be June 25th. Okay, but even putting all these last remaining weeks aside, there really haven't been a super amount of difficult challenges when it comes to writing this. Now, as I've moved forward through this writing, this is my first book in this series. Okay, I will certainly tell you that other things have happened in my life that were not the most pleasant, but none of them had to do with the writing of the book itself. Because I'm at the point in my life where something bad isn't trying to take over as I'm moving forward in the Lord's path for me. I know that I'm on the wrong path. Like, that's where I'm at, and you'll get there too. It's really funny when you think about it. Not funny for the stuff you have to go through, but it's comical when you see hindrance after hindrance after hindrance trying to come through. I remember the very first day that I had my final approval of the content in the book. We just had a couple of massive disasters happen in our lives, and it's not they were related, no doubt about it. Okay, and so it's just the way it is when you keep moving forward. All right, no different than when King David slept in that cave. God told him he would be king of Israel, but here he is sitting in a cave. What do I do, Lord? What do I do? All right, and some of you are right there. Keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. Remember, King David gave a $6 billion offering at the end of his life. $6 billion with a B. All right, some of you are thrilled when you give $1,000. There you go. Right? Again, all about perspective, all about keep moving forward, all about keeping on with the path that you're supposed to be on, Okay? And again, as long as you keep moving forward, you keep seeking the Lord and what you're supposed to be doing, and stay with it. Stay with it. I mean, there are things in my life that I would like to be doing, economic-wise and work-wise. The Lord has not really given me a green light to do so, even though it's my desire. So my desire is to please Him first and foremost. All right? And so as part of this writing of this book, that's what I was geared towards, is I want to honor the Lord with my labor. I want to honor the Lord with my resources also that comes from my labor. That's why. Okay? Really, really, again, if you've never written the book before, it is very, very fun. It really is. Okay? Seeing everything from start to finish, and just, let me see. I'm going to pull up the cover. All right? I don't know if Kluwer is still here with us, but I just want to go ahead and pull up this cover. All right? And we're going to see what we're looking at. Okay? All right. Let's do this. And that's not it. Okay. Screen 2. Nope. Apologize about that. It's over here. Nope. Let's do that. Nope. There it is. Got it. Here it is. That's the cover of the first book. Right there. This is it. So that's the cover. They did a really nice job with this cover. I will tell you that right now. Okay? Absolutely thrilled with it. But yeah, that's it. Heavenly Treasury, Receiving God's Riches Through Work, Wealth, and Wisdom. Volume 1, Fear of the Lord. And then my name, of course, Ron Turba. All right? And so that's what it's going to look like. That's the front. Over there is the back. All that. So yeah, really, really thrilled about this. And this is going to be coming out almost 100% sure this is going to come out this month. Final date, not quite set in stone, but yep, that's it. So super, super thrilled about that. That's for sure. All right. So I don't know what you're working on right now. Some of you are just starting out. Because I remember when I was just first starting out, I never in a million years would have thought it's gone this long and this far. I will tell you, I started writing. I want to say I started writing in 2019. All right, and every single one of those manuscripts for the 25 volumes that will come out, they're already written. They're already written. It's just how do I want to present them? When do I want to get them out? All right. So it's going to be something that's going to continue moving forward all the days of my life. And I will tell you this, the Lord has definitely been with me the whole way through. I will just tell you that right now. The Lord has been with me the whole way through. And He'll be there with you also, especially when you do what He wants you to do. Because some of you, I will certainly tell, I'll really end with this. Okay? Some of you are in a position right now where the primary thing that the Lord wants you to work on is about this big right now. And you're maybe only working a few minutes, few hours a day on it. Not really sure what you're doing, not really sure where you're going. But I will tell you this. You may think, oh, this thing is so far away from completion. You watch what happens when you start getting in and putting effort into what the Lord wants you to do, financially speaking. And working on it with excellence and diligence and not taking no for an answer. You're going to start seeing everything else in your life start benefiting. That's happened to me plenty of times. There's a lot of times that I have had contracts, all right, that I have received based on the certain benchmarks that I have hit in the road to publishing this book. Okay? And you're going to have the same thing happen to you too. So that's something I hope you're encouraged by this, to be honest with you. I really hope you're encouraged. Because don't ever think that, oh my goodness, the Lord's calling me to do this, this, and this, and I'm just stuck. All right, just take the next step. Just take the next step. Don't ever think, oh my goodness, God's called me to India. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? Who am I going to preach? He's calling me to build a church in India. Now I got to go look for land. No, the first step is booking an airplane ticket. The first step in planting a church in India is booking an airfare ticket to India. That's your first step. Don't think about the land that you have to buy. Don't think about the government you got to deal with. Don't think about the other stuff. Just take the next step. What's the next step? Okay? For me, the only step left in finishing this book is getting out the marketing copy. That's it. Everything else is done. So that's my next step, getting the marketing copy out. And so whatever step you're supposed to be on with the Lord, keep doing it. Keep doing it. He'll bless the work of your hands. All right? So with that being said, I want to thank everybody who watched us today. This will be up on YouTube as they always are. Next steps, just continue to watch out for the content. Watch out for the book. It'll be on, as soon as it's up on pre-sale, I'll come back on and show everybody. But again, I want to make sure that you're continuing the importance of moving forward. Whatever path that is for you, the Lord wants you to move forward. He doesn't want you to stay stagnant, because if you stay stagnant for too long, you're gonna get stale, and the Lord's gonna find somebody else. That's what's gonna happen. I don't want that to be you. I want you to receive all that heaven has for you, but there's steps that you have to take today to make that happen. There are steps you have to take today to make that happen. So with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in today. I can't wait to share the book when it is complete. All right, and with that being said, we will talk to you the next time. Take care, everybody.